Welcome, everyone, to the MMA Happy Hour podcast. I am Kyle Anthony, your host, where today we are talking UFC Edmonton. We've got Moreno versus Amir Albazi. We're going to talk 4 plays here on the show today. Before we get into the show, the picks, definitely give this video a like, comment, appreciate that. Anybody who's doing that, helping out the algorithm a little bit here. And as well as I do have a 4% best bet pack up right now at Wager Talk, link down in the description, and use promo code CAGE10, get $10 off this weekend's pack. And listen, we are up over 73 units this year. Don't like my showing last week, but we always get it back. So we're going to dive into this weekend's plays, and we're going to talk first the main event of the evening between Moreno and Amir Albazi. Now, you've got Moreno here. He is minus 175 on the comeback. You've got Albazi plus 145. Now, stylistically speaking, with these two guys, you really got Moreno, who's going to push forward, who's tough, who's durable, who's well-rounded, always a gamer looking to come forward and throw. And he has, really went out there and had a lot of success over his career. And the thing that was really the big red flag for me was his most recent fight against Brandon Royval. And it was a great fight, definitely a battle. And, Moreno coming off a loss against Pantoja most recently prior to that. But the fight against Royval, I thought there was a couple red flags, and I really thought that he looked a lot slower. I think he looked a lot more unmotivated. He wasn't as explosive. He didn't look like he was really going for it. And there was a lot of really concerns when you're talking about a guy like Moreno, who really is somebody who is a gamer. And that really starts to give questions there. Also, the fact that, he was not extending his combinations. It was really one-off big hook or, not really just really going after it. And I do think that that's going to cause some problems here if he's going to be doing something like that, being a lot more flat-footed against a guy like Amir Albazi, who's going to push forward, look for takedowns, look for the control time. I think he's stronger. I think he's going to have the physicality advantage. And if he's going to be a little bit slower or lose a step, I do think that opens up opportunities for Albazi to go out there, get takedowns. I think you've also got to look at the fact that this is, Moreno had 6 straight title fights where he was battling Figueiredo. He had ups and downs throughout that, took a ton of damage throughout those fights. And after his last loss against Royval, he had openly said, listen, I don't want to fight until 2025. And all of a sudden, he's on a main card here at the end of the year. I do think that does show that he did want a little time off, a little time away, and they're getting him right back in the cage. And I think stylistically, Albazi's wrestling, his pressure is going to be too much. We've seen that, Moreno can be taken down, can be controlled. Certain guys have done that. And I do think that Albazi, he's going to have that strength, that explosiveness, that he can look for those takedowns and somewhat bully Moreno throughout this fight. I think he's going to get to the back. I think he's going to get that control time. And the wrestling and the strength and the physicality of Albazi, I think, will be there. So I do like Amir Albazi here. He's training with Henry Cejudo. I think he gets the job done at this plus number is a good spot. Next one here we're going to talk about is Jhonata Diniz versus Derrick Lewis. You got Diniz here, minus 175 on the comeback here with Lewis, plus 145. Now, I was actually surprised that this line is this wide. Money looks to have been consistently coming in on Diniz. I get it. He's the undefeated guy, 2-0 in the UFC. You've got Lewis, 39 years old, a lot of questions there. But the thing about it, I think the first thing is you got to look at competition level. Now, I get it. Diniz is a guy that's new to the UFC. He's not going to all of a sudden fight all these killers. But this is a huge step up for Diniz and a big step down for Lewis. Lewis has faced the who's who, while Diniz, you look at Diniz, I mean, listen, he won on Dana White's Contender Series. He goes out there and fights Austin Lane, who is not good. Doesn't matter what he did against Rebellis Disdain last week. He is not good. And he goes out there and gets a takedown in the first round, lays on Diniz, keeps him there. And pretty much after that, Lane had 0 cardio left, and Diniz looked also really exhausted and was able to just kind of land some shots. It looked like Lane just collapsed almost more off of exhaustion than damage he was taking. I do think that brings some question marks there. And then even Carl Williams. Carl Williams is a grappler who for 2 rounds stood and was somewhat landing on Diniz. And I get it, maybe because he was worried about the takedowns. Williams found success in the takedowns later. I do think that opens up a lot of questions there for it. And then also, Diniz is touted as this high level kickboxer, this really like, really people, now they've got Alex Pereira and guys like Adesanya who, wow, they're kickboxers. Can they make the transition? I'm watching Diniz, his past fights in kickboxing. He doesn't look that bad. His MMA fights, I thought he has not looked quick. I don't see the high level striking. I don't see where he's this really excelling kickboxer compared to Lewis. He's not going to be as technical sound. He's not going to be as smooth. Lewis is a brawler. He's going to come forward. He's going to throw the big shots. I think Deniz's speed is okay. I think, his striking is all right. I don't think it's anything. And now you compare to who Lewis has faced prior. I mean, he's faced, terrible stylistic matchups and guys are going to dive at his legs. And you got like Spivak, JL10 Almeida, you got Pavlovich, even Nascimento, who he beat. But Nascimento is another grappler guy looking for takedowns. So, this is the first time where you've got, Lewis, who not have to worry about takedowns, but he may actually be the guy looking for takedowns because you saw against Nascimento right out the gate. Nascimento is a grappler. He went out there and he was looking for those takedowns. So obviously he is comfortable in those situations where Diniz looks like that's a big problem for him. I'm not saying that Lewis is going to dive at legs all fight, but I also do think that Diniz is very hittable, leaves his head on the center line, can be hit. And if a guy like, Carl Williams can find success, it's somewhat, yes, he lost the fight, but somewhat success landing. I think Lewis is going to land big and he's going to land very, very damaging shots here. So I do think that Lewis can move forward, land the bigger shots. I think at a heavyweight fight here, where this is a massive step down for Lewis and a huge step up for Diniz, even with Lewis at 39 years old, I think the plus money is too good. I like Derrick Lewis here, plus 145. Now, the next fight here we are going to be talking about is going to be Derrick. Oh, not Derrick. It's going to be Caio Machado versus Brendson Ribeiro. Now, you've got Machado here. He is minus 165. The comeback on Ribeiro, plus 135. Now, this is a spot here where you've got Machado, who was at heavyweight, not finding success there in the UFC, comes down, drops down in weight. Now, a lot of times, there's different reasons why that could be good or bad. The next fight, I'll actually tell you why it's good. This fight here, I think it's actually a bad move. Now, Machado is looking for the size advantage, the physicality advantage. I think he's looking for some of those things here where, his most recent fight against Dante Almeida, which was a fight where I thought Machado would find a lot more success. And listen, when you lose to Dante Almeida, you get dropped by Dante Almeida, you start questioning your career path as an MMA fighter. And I think that's what Machado's doing here. He's saying, if I can't beat a guy like Dante Almeida, maybe if I move down in weight and have some kind of strength and size advantage, that could work for him. Now, in this particular spot, I don't think he has it against a guy like Brendson Ribeiro. Light heavyweights, are faster, more explosive. A lot of times at heavyweight division, they're bangers, they're swinging, they're going for the fences. Their skill set isn't as wide, where as you start to get down, the skill sets, the things you can do start to open up a little bit for you here. And I think that Ribeiro is a explosive guy, quick, strong. And I think that those things that Machado thinks he's going to have in this fight, he's not going to have them against Ribeiro. And I think Ribeiro's hand speed is going to be far more. I think his explosiveness is going to be far more than Machado. Machado at times can be very flat-footed. I think that there's spots here where Ribeiro can really throw some big, heavy shots, land them. I think, again, if Dante Almeida is landing on you, I do think at least Ribeiro with faster hand speed and the better footwork, I think will land on it. Plus, he's more well-rounded. I think he could look for certain takedowns if he wants them also and add in some of the leg kicks here. I think that Ribeiro can land big leg kicks, chop away Machado, heavy on his feet, slow moving. I think that will be a target, and it's something that Ribeiro is completely fine doing, and he will be able to land here. And then also you got to look at, the fact that, flat out, Machado leaves his chin up also. He's another guy will plot forward, throw combinations. And I just don't really see where this large advantage is for Machado. I think this is more of a fight where it's a 50-50 fight here. And in those situations, I gotta go the plus money here. So I do like Brendson Ribeiro to get the job done, plus 135. And the last one here we're going to be talking about here is going to be between Charles Jourdain, minus 120, and that line looks to be widening here, versus Victor Henry plus 100. So in this spot here, these are both guys who are going to look to come forward, throw big shots, really just trade. And it's really going to be the high volume striking of Victor Henry going up against Charles Jourdain and really his more versatile dynamic striking. He's flashy. He can mix it up a little bit here. And I do think that's where it's kind of going to be the battle. Now, the only holdup that I had really for the on the Jourdain side was first the fact that Henry's volume. I mean, this volume is exceptional. I mean, he really pushes out a high volume when you're looking at it. Barcelos against Hani Barcelos, he landed 181 strikes against Tony Gravely, 154 strikes. He is pushing the pace. He is able to do it. He really has good cardio, and that volume can start to melt people. Now, an issue here is the fact he's now 37 years old. You've got Jourdain, who's 28, who's really entering his prime. He's been around for a while, but he's now really, truly entering his prime. And at these weight classes, at this age, at 37, your skills can really start to decline very quickly. And I'm not saying we're seeing that with Henry, but it is available at this spot and at this particular point. And then I also do think that Jourdain moving down in weight is a good thing. Now, certain times it's bad, certain times it's good, but this particular situation, I thought Jourdain was too small, for that division. And I think coming down in weight is really going to help him here, really kind of, again, I think at this point, at 28 years old, he can do those things. He can move around a little bit. He was a smaller guy, and he was losing to really high-level guys, really solid fighters overall. I mean, losing to Gene Silva, which we actually bet Gene Silva in that spot knocked him out, but Gene Silva is an absolute savage. You got Sean Woodson he lost to. Sean Woodson is a terrible stylistic matchup, long, lanky, tough fight. And even Nathaniel Wood. Nathaniel Wood is a tough fighter, rangy, great footwork, in and out. And these were tough fights for Jourdain. I do think that this is a spot where Jourdain can find success. He's well-rounded, got good cardio. I like his kicks. I like how he mixes it up a little bit here. And I do think he can find maybe some takedowns, find some opportunity. He's very opportunistic, really, with his offense. And I do like some of those flashy kicks that he does do. And I just think that in this spot here, I like Jourdain. I think the weight, moving down a weight is going to be a good thing here. So I'm taking Jourdain minus 120 to get the job done. So there you have it for UFC Edmonton. If you want to become a client, link down in the description. And again, use code CAGE10 at checkout. Get $10 off my 4% play. With that being said, let's cash some tickets and see you next week. Let's cash.